Hi everybody, we're here talking about the new Genesis F3 processor, and we're going to talk a little bit about the features and benefits of it. This is the machine here itself. We've got a heavy-duty Pelican case on the outside with carrying handles on either side. We also have a carrying handle on the top. Latches to latch the lid and open it on either side, and also the ability to lock the case here and here. When we open the lid, we can see that inside the lid we have the input and the output cables that are conveniently stored with a little latching strap. We have the enclosure itself. It's an aluminum enclosure that has shock mounting on either side. I don't know if you can see them from here, but the shock mounts are right down here. We've got a power on-off switch, a field replaceable fuse. This is a USB Type B port for an AutoCal system. This is the USB Type A port for the download. Each one has its own field replaceable cap. We have the penetrations for the input and the output cable. This is the display shield that covers the 4x20 LCD display. And then we have the control buttons, the start, up, down, and stop. Over on this side we have some cautions and warnings in both English and Spanish, as well as some other warning information and some extension cord information if you would need it. Inside the lid, up here in the corner, we've got a serial number tag and a manufacturing date in case you ever have to send the machine back to service. Here we're looking at the contents of the Genesis F3 accessory pouch. We have instruction manuals in both English and Spanish. We have 4.7mm fitting adapters, one with the ID pin and one without the ID pin. We have the wrench that's used to change the fitting adapters. Also, we have a fitting information card that has the Freeland fitting sizes and cooling times. And on the reverse side we have machine error codes that has the machine error code and the description of the problem in case there is one. Here we're looking at the 4.7mm fitting adapter ends. You can see clearly the one with the ID pin over here. This one, when attached, goes to the red lead, and the one on this side without the ID pin goes to the white lead. We're now going to go ahead and turn the machine on. In order to do that, we need to select a power supply. We recommend a 120 volt power supply with a 30 amp circuit that the 30 amp twist lock will plug right into. If you have to use an adapter, you can use one of these Marinco adapters. The disadvantage of using the adapter is that it reduces the effective size of the coupling you can use to a 4-inch and below. Now, before we turn it on, we want to make sure that the machine is off. We want to make sure that the power source itself, if it's a generator, is running in the high-speed manual mode with all of the idle controls off. Now, although we don't recommend the use of an extension cord, if you absolutely have to, there are instructions on the faceplate here regarding the size. Now that we have the machine plugged into the power source, we're going to go through the power-up procedure. Now, in order to do that, we turn the power emergency stop switch slightly. Now, those series of loud audible beeps that you heard was the machine doing its internal self-diagnostic test, and at the conclusion of that we end up here at the Connect fitting screen. Here we can show that the generator voltage, we've got to display the generator voltage and frequency, and this is a live measurement of the current power supply, and a measurement of the ambient temperature. Things of concern here are specifically the generator voltage. We want to make sure that the voltage is stable and with between 97 and 150 volts. And we also want to make sure that the frequency is stable between 47 and 70 hertz. This number I would consider stable at this point in time. Now we can hold the up arrow down while we're in the Connect fitting screen to get a little bit of additional information. Here we have the firmware version, the serial number of the unit, and some additional information, including the calibration date that may be useful if ever contacting technical support. Now that we're here at the Connect fitting screen, we're going to do exactly that, is connect a fitting. Here we have a sample fitting. The first thing that we want to do is make sure that we have the correct fitting adapters installed. You can see for this Freeland fitting I've pre-installed the 4.0mm adapters here and here. Now these are non-polarity sensitive, so it doesn't matter what side that they go on. One thing that we want to do is make sure that the adapters are clean. So what I do is take a look down in there to make sure that there's no debris or dirt that might make a poor electrical connection. And after I've done that, we can just go ahead and plug the adapters in. And again, these are non-polarity sensitive, so I'm going to plug one in here. The connection should be tight and not loose. It shouldn't wobble. I'll put both in. And the processor has identified that the fitting's been connected and is right here at the default mode, which is the scan barcode mode. Now I'd like to talk about the various manual mode capabilities in the Genesis F3 processor. You can see here that we're in the default mode, which is scan barcode. If there's a problem with the barcode wand or another reason to access the manual mode, what we do is we hold the up and the down arrow down at the same time. And here's the manual menu. What we do is select the menu. You can see that the cursor highlights the currently selected item. We can use the up-down buttons to scroll and select the item that we want. We'll start with the manual barcode mode. So I'll make sure the cursor is highlighted the number 1 menu. We'll press start, and here we are presented with a screen that will allow us to manually enter the 24-digit barcode from the fitting. That's accomplished simply by pressing the up and the down arrow to scroll the digit thusly. And I can use the start button to move the cursor to the right. And if I make an error, I can always use the stop button to come back to the left. I'm not going to enter the full barcode right now, but you would just enter each one of the 24 digits from the fitting. The other manual option is a straight manual mode, where we enter simply the voltage and the time. So we'll select option 2, hit the start button. Now here we're presented with a Fusion voltage entering screen. We want to look at the fitting again and get this information directly from it. We'll use the up arrow to scroll the voltage up, the down arrow to scroll the voltage down. As you can hold the button down, you can see that the values scroll faster and faster throughout the applicable range of the processor in half-volt increments. Once I get to the correct voltage, we can press start to accept that. And now we enter the Fusion time in seconds. And again, the data entry method is the same. You hold the button down and the seconds scroll. The longer you hold the button down, the faster the numbers scroll. To accept that information, we press start. We're now going to talk about the barcode method of performing a fusion, which is the default method of the Genesis F3. You see we're still here at the connect fitting screen. There's 2 ways we can do a barcode fusion. One way is to connect the fitting first and then scan the barcode. The other way is to scan the barcode first and then connect the fitting. The first way we'll describe is to scan the barcode first and then connect the fitting. Now what we're going to do is first remove the barcode wand from its protective sheath. This happens to be a smart scanner. There's several options of the scanning wands that are available with the Genesis F3. We'll talk about those later. It's very important to keep the wand in its sheath though. So we'll pull it out of the sheath and we'll point it here at the fitting and scan it. At this point in time, if you can hear me because of the buzzer, it's asking me to connect the fitting, so I'm going to do just that. I'll take the output cable ends, connect them to the fitting, and then here we are at the verification screen where we're ready to begin the fusion. I'm going to disconnect the fitting to illustrate the connect fitting first, scan second option, and to do that we would do just the opposite as we did before. We would connect the fitting first and go through the resistance verification, and we are asked to scan the barcode. At this time we can do the same thing. Take the wand, scan the barcode, and here we are at the Verify Setup screen where we're ready to start the fusion. Now we're going to talk about the different scanning options that are available on the Genesis F3 processor. There are 3 of them. They are the Smart Scanner with and without GPS and the Pen Wand. This particular example is a Smart Scanner. Each of the different wands has a protective case. The protective cases are sized based on the type of the wand that you have. This one again is for the Smart Scanner. Whenever possible, you always want to keep the scanner inside of the case. It's the best way to provide its longevity and keep it from damage. When you pull the scanner out, don't grab it by the cable. Try to grab it by the case. Bring it out like this, and again you can see this is a Smart Scanner. This particular one happens to be a GPS model. The only difference between the GPS model and the non-GPS model is the fact that this one says GPS there, and when you turn it on, it gives you the latitude and the longitude that of the current position where you are. The screen on the smart scanner mimics the screen on the processor. You can see that this one is saying that you should connect the fitting, and the processor happens to be in the connect fitting screen. It also displays the current latitude and longitude position, as well as the number of space vehicles that the receiver is monitoring at this point. It's 6. This last number here on the side is a position accuracy indicator. The lower the number, the better. So 2 is a pretty good. There you see it just jumped to 1 when it got the 7th and 8th satellite. This is the scanning button that you use to scan the barcode. It can also be used to start and stop the fusion on the Genesis processor. If you look at the end of the smart scanner here, you can see the recessed hole where the scanning engine is. The little protective screen is recessed back behind inside the plastic case to protect it. You want to do your best to keep this area clean and free of dirt and debris. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and demonstrate how to scan a fitting. The first thing we want to do is connect the fitting. I have a fitting barcode here. I'm going to attach the processor leads to the fitting. Okay. And you'll see that the smart screen has been updated to display that we are ready to scan the barcode. Now when scanning the barcode, you want to hold the scanner in such a way that the scanning engine is parallel with the barcode one, like this. Don't hold it like this. So what we do is we'll hold the wand there, we'll press the button to scan, move the red line over the barcode, and there we go. We've successfully scanned the barcode, and you can see that the fitting information is displayed here for the barcode that I have just scanned. At this point in time, we can go ahead and verify this information and start the fusion. Obviously, I won't do that because we have no pipe here, but that's pretty much it. Okay, now I'm going to disconnect this fitting, and what I'll do is I'll show you how to remove the scanner. All of the scanners are field replaceable, and the way we remove the scanner is by this connector here on the output cable. Essentially, we can remove the little protective covering. It's a thread connector, so I can unthread the connector, unplug this, and what I'm going to do is go ahead and attach a pen wand and then show you how to do a scan with one of those as well. This is the pen wand right here, very familiar. We can take this mating connector, plug it in. It is keyed, so you see how I'm slowly rotating it until it fits in, and then I'm going to engage the locking mechanism by turning the screw. And now our scanner is on. Now you can see that the little red light on the scanner is on, indicating that it's been powered up. This scanner, as opposed to the smart scanner, has the scanning engine right here on the end. So you want to do your best to be very careful to keep this area clean and free of scratches, because if it is scratched, it won't scan. Now in order to scan with the pen wand, we'll do the same thing. We'll connect the fitting. Okay. Now what I'm going to do is hold the wand basically like a pencil at a slight angle, starting off of the barcode wand, and drag it right across. Just like that. You can hear that the processor accepted the scan. There's no display to indicate that the scan has been successful, but you can verify the fitting information on the screen of the machine. Just to recap, here's the two scanning options for the Genesis F3. We have the smart scanner with and without GPS, and the pen wand. A couple points to note about care and maintenance of these devices. With the pen wand, you want to keep this area clean and free of debris, like we've said before. With the smart scanner, this area wants to be clean and free of debris. If you have to clean it, make sure you use a soft, dry towel. Don't use any solvents or even water to do it. Just a soft, dry towel to wipe the end will be fine. And as always, when the scanners are not in use, keep them inside of their protective sheaths. Now we're going to go through the procedure for doing a resistor ID fusion. And to do that, the first thing that we have to do is make sure that we have the correct lead ends installed on the output cable. You can see that I've already changed one, but this is the default 4.0 millimeter lead end here, and this is the resistor ID end. Now to change out the output adapters, what you'll do is you'll take the wrench that comes with the accessory kit, place it on the adapter end, right by one of the flats, turn it to break it loose, and then it will just unthread. You can remove it, set it to the side. You can grab the 4.7 resistor ID end, start the threads going, and just tighten it up with the wrench. Okay. Now before you connect the fitting, you do want to make sure that the ends are clean and free of debris, especially the end with the ID resistor pin here. You can see that, but these look to be pretty clean. So what we'll do is we'll connect them to the fitting now. We have here an ID resistor fitting, and you can tell that by the different pins that are on the fitting here. We have this one is the one with the embedded resistor in it, and you can see by the little red bushing and the metal piece inside, and then this is just a solid piece of metal. Now these leads are polarity sensitive, so it's important how you hook them up. What you're going to do is you first take the red lead, connect it to the ID resistor end. Then you're going to take the white lead, connect it to the non-ID resistor end. Connect the fitting, and the processor comes here to the verify setup screen, and we're ready to begin a fusion. Now let's talk about the operator ID functionality of the Genesis F3 processor. The operator ID functionality is used to establish a link between an operator name or identification number and the fusions that are stored in the processor's memory. This can be needed if, depending on the job that you're working on. In order to turn this functionality on or off, just contact IPEX Technical Service Department to get instructions on how to do that, and also to obtain any of the ID badges. Now this processor has already had this functionality turned on, so I'm just going to show you how to access the information. We turn the machine on. Now after the processor has gone through its normal self-test, you'll see that it comes up with the traceability screen, and it's asking you to enter the operator ID. What you would do is take an operator ID card that again you can obtain from IPEX and scan it just like you would a fitting barcode. So we'll point the scanner at it, scan the barcode, and you can see the operator name has been entered into the space that it's asking for. After that, we press the start button, and that operator ID has been stored, has been tagged for storage with any subsequent fusions that are done. Now let's talk about how to download information from the Genesis F3 processor. As you know, when each fusion is done, the processor's internal memory stores information about the fusion. To get that out, what we'll need is a standard USB memory stick formatted at 512 bytes per sector, and we'll use the download port on the processor. You take your USB memory stick, you plug it into the processor just like you'd plug in any accessory to a personal computer. You turn the machine on. And you can see that the processor just downloaded its data. Now the length of the download varies based on the number of fusions that are in the processor's memory. The Genesis F3 can store up to 1,000 fusions. Remember, when using the operator ID mode of the Genesis processor, the fusion information will be stored with operator ID until you turn it off. To turn it off, you should obtain a user off barcode from IPEX. Now let's talk about the user menu in the Genesis F3 processor. The user menu is used to do things like set the date and time, change the temperature units, and set the language of the machine. In order to access the user's menu, we start by pressing and holding the up button, then we turn the machine on. I'm still holding the up button. Once I've done that, you can see that the general settings menu has come up, listing the options here. We use the up and the down arrows to navigate the menus. We can set the date and time, set temperature units, change the language. Currently language is English. And we can turn the smart scanner on or off. We'll start by looking at the date and time. The first thing we do is make sure that the cursor is above the menu option that we want, and we hit the start button to access that menu. This display shows the current date and time. We can change it using the up and down arrows to scroll. This is setting the month, We use the start button to move to the next parameter. This would be the day. We set the number the same way. Year is done the same way. And the hours and the minutes. Now if I've made a mistake, I can use the stop button to go back and change any one of the fields that I've just changed. And we'll leave it the same. Well, to change the time and save it, we just hit the start button after we set the minutes. One beep says the time has changed. The next option is the temperature units. The default temperature units are Fahrenheit, but we can change that to Celsius if we would like. First thing is we select option 2, we press start, and when we're presented with this screen we can use the up and the down arrow to set the particular units that we want. Pressing the start button will save this value, pressing the stop button will cancel and return to the previous value. Okay, the next is the language. Currently the language is English. Once we select the menu option and press the start button, we can use the up and the down arrow to change between English and Spanish. And you can see that as we change, the menu options change. There's English and there's Spanish. Again, start saves the option and stop cancels it. The other option is the smart scanner option. Now this option is used to set whether or not the smart scanner is on, and it's important that you set this setting to match the particular wand that you have on your machine. This particular machine has a smart scanner attached to it and it's on. To shut the smart scanner off, we access the menu again by using the start button and use the up and the down to toggle what the setting is. This turns the smart scanner off, this turns it on. Start saves and stop cancels. To exit the general settings menu, we can get back here to the line where we're selecting the menu option and we hit the stop button, and then the machine just boots normally into the connect fitting screen. Now that we've finished using the Genesis F3 processor, we can just briefly go over how to put the machine away and store it. The first thing we recommend doing is reinserting all of the protective caps on the download ports and the AutoCal ports. Make sure that the machine is off. Next thing we can do is wrap up the cables. They conveniently store in the lid. And you can just kind of wrap them up like this. They store quite nicely in there. Now if the processor should get dirty or need to be cleaned, the best way to do that is with a damp rag. You can run that on the output cables and over the case to remove any debris. Keep the damp rag away from the barcode wands and do not use it for that. Once we get the cables wound up nicely in there, we can take the accessory bag, place it in, and then use the included strap to lash everything down and secure it nicely. We snug it up. Now the service interval on the Genesis F3 processor is 3 years, and the unit itself weighs 48 pounds. Once the latch is closed and the case is shut, we advise storing the unit in a clean, dry place. Now let's go over how to get information from the USB drive into a usable format. The tool that we've selected to use for that is Microsoft Excel, and the spreadsheet file to use is available for free on the IPEX website. This example happens to be Excel 2010, but the spreadsheet's compatible with Excel versions 2003 and above. So what we'll do first is open the spreadsheet. It happens to be in my recent documents, and we'll open it up. Now the Excel spreadsheet is a macro-enabled Excel spreadsheet, and in order to do that, you have to enable macros when you open it. You can see the warning at the top of the screen. That's displaying that this is a security warning and that the macros have been disabled. We need to enable those in order to let the downloading function continue. Now to briefly go over the screen that we're seeing here, if you follow the mouse pointer, we've got this information for commands. Basically the only two commands that we have are to import data and to clear messages. The only settings that we have are how to display the temperature units. Right now we're displaying them in degrees of Fahrenheit. This section over here to the right is a messages section, and basically what it's used for is to display information about the download as the download progresses. Now we'll go ahead and do a download. We start with the USB memory stick that we've previously put Fusion data in directly from the processor, and we'll plug that into the USB port on the processor. It doesn't matter which one, any available port will work. We'll give Windows a second to identify it. Typically it assigns a drive letter. And then what you want to do is go here to import data, and what I'm going to do is double click on the import data icon just as you would run a normal Windows program. Okay, you can see the messages screen is progressing. The data is coming in with a percentage indicator. The data is being formatted. And very shortly the operation is complete. You can see that the job status is 100% done. The operation status is 100% done. And basically what this information here tells you is that the computer has, the program has searched the drives, and it has found 10 records on this USB drive from processor serial number 3280112, and it has imported them successfully. Now if you look down here, over in the clear messages, we can just double click on that to reset the messages section. That's all that does. Now if you look down here to see the raw data, you'll see that we have added a tab down here with the serial number of the processor. Now we can visit this tab, and this contains the raw data from that processor grouped in a usable manner. We start with the serial number of the unit, followed by the Fusion number. Now the data is listed in order from the newest Fusion to the oldest. So you can see we've got Fusion 13 at the top, all the way down to 4, which is the 10 that we just downloaded. This next column is the date and the time that the Fusion was done. This is the date that the calibration on the Electrofusion processor is due, and we can see that the calibration has not expired. This is the firmware version of the processor and the result code. And these result codes correspond to the codes that are on the card in the processor's accessory bag. This is the mode that the barcode, the mode of the Fusion as it was done. These were all done with barcode. This is the manufacturer of the fitting, Freeland. This is the type of the fitting and the size. We've got the output voltage, the current temperature, the time, the requested time, which is what was specified in the barcode. We have the temperature compensated time and the actual Fusion time. This is the cooling time as specified in the barcode, and resistance information. There's a complete description of all of the data in the manual to the processor, but as you can see there's a lot as far as traceability, GPS data, we have power supply data here at the end, and it's all very useful if you're trying to debug a problem with the machine, or if you're looking to just see what the processor has done over the past Fusions. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation and gotten a lot out of it. If you need additional information, or if we haven't gone over something that you would like to do, please refer to the instruction manual.